I've been asked what deck that I use professionally in my readings all the time, and what deck that I do use is, of course, the Tarot Illuminati. I followed this deck from the moment that it was being made. When I first seen the pictures of the first card that was made, immediately I fell in love. I thought, wow, this is fantastic. I want to find out and follow this deck, because a lot of artists will seem to go off of the Rider-Waite system and throw some cards in there that doesn't really fit. This deck stays with that. The detail is phenomenal. The detail in these cards are almost as if you can step into the card. Another thing about this deck that you don't see in any other deck is the fact that there are different races in this. There's 4 different races of people, which is something that's, I think, a new concept, and it's something that I think that really need to be brought out also, because it stays true to the Rider-Waite system, but the richness in the cards are so beautiful that I'm able to pull out information that I can't pull out in other decks.
I first found out about the Terra Illuminati back in June of 2012. And when I saw the images online, I found them via Facebook. I believe someone posted the images. They shared the photos, and I came across Eric's work on his Facebook page. And I instantly fell in love with the images. I found them to be unique. They were bold. They were loud. The deck was in your face, that it wasn't subtle, it wasn't quiet, it wasn't the run-of-the-mill kind of artwork, what we kind of are accustomed to. But the Terra Illuminati is in a class of its own. The deck is able to jump out at you. It's able to feel alive. It's able to feel like it's a living, breathing kind of a thing. That's the reason why I'm so enamored with the deck, is because of its ability to connect you from the mundane to the spirit. To one word, it's a masterpiece.
Tarot Illuminati, it is a deck that was recently released by Lois Carabello. It's a great deck which was based on the traditional deck Rider-Waite. And here we have the Alchemist, which represents the card of the magician. Here we have the 4 elements, the 4 suits, and we can see in this card the artwork of the artist Eric Doon, and see how beautiful it is, and how this deck was designed in so much elegant way, and so much love, which was, we can feel so much love when he did, this work. And the energy of these cards, like we feel like very deep, and you can feel very, very deep the energy of each of these cards, because each one has a particular energy, and the representation that the artist did in this card is absolutely fantastic. Now recently the deck was released in 5 languages. It was released in English, in Italian, in German and French, Spanish and Portuguese, which is the standard Illuminati, and now all over the world can get it. This beautiful deck. I really love working with this deck, because this deck is absolutely fantastic.
Here's an important question. How did you find an author for the companion book?
Ah, boy.
How shall we explain this?
So, after it became apparent that I should share this deck. Well, you can't release a deck without a companion book. And there was only one person in particular that could ever, in my opinion, write the book to accompany my deck, and made that arrangement. However, I started ticking along at this really rapid pace. I was doing nothing but creating cards and artwork for this deck, and I started moving along really, really, really rapidly. And I sat down with my friend who was going to write this book, and one day, and said, so I signed a contract with a publisher, and this is my deadline for submitting the artwork. And he kind of looked at me with this vacant stare from across the table and was like, "You what?" I'm like, "Well, yeah, I found my publisher. It's all good to go. I've signed the contract. I've got this. It's got to be ready by this date, which means, where are we with the book?" Oh, wow. That's quite something else entirely. So, long story short, my my author, my original author, was unable to write the book, and I take a large responsibility on myself for that, because I didn't keep him abreast of how quickly I was moving along. So here I was, 2 months, 3 months, maybe 3 months before my deadline for submission, with no author, no companion book, no author. And my initial reaction or instinct was, I'll write it myself. Stupid. How could I possibly? Number one, I'm not a writer. I'm a visual artist. I'm not a writer. Number two, I still feel like a novice to this day. I didn't feel like I had the wealth of knowledge to write a book on the subject. And number three, there was no time to write a book and continue completing the artwork. So I sent out this SOS over social medias, and in big bold letters. God help me! And I got these. Oh my God! I got these emails just flooding in from all over the place, all over the country, all over the world, from folks who were interested in writing the companion book to go along with my artwork. And some of them were quite intriguing, others not so much. And then I came across this one email from Kim Huggins.
I've been asked the question, why are you the voice of the Tarot Illuminati? And in thinking about this question, I think it's better to first ask, what is the voice of the Tarot Illuminati? This, for me, is a deck which speaks very clearly and in a unique and original way. When you look at the card images, they come alive and jump out at you. When you read the book, the landscapes and characters in those card images connect with your rational reading mind. But that allows them then to connect with your emotional and spiritual self. Words are important. They stand for the most important things in human experience. They stand for love, they stand for death, they stand for family, connecting, perceiving, expressing, initiating. They stand for being. And in connection with tarot, words are symbols that are standing for true meaning in the card images. So the voice of the Tarot Illuminati is very important when we start considering it as a complete deck. The voice of the Tarot Illuminati is, for me, and I believe also for Eric, one of illumination and revelation, which are two of the main purposes of engagement with tarot. As such, the deck is full of symbolism to do with light and reflection, refraction. It's seen in things such as starlight and moonlight, sunlight, firelight, and even in the lack of light, which is also very important. Unfortunately, these symbols of light and darkness are often overlooked when we read the cards. They're so obvious, they're there in plain sight. Hidden in plain sight is this meaning. So when I wrote the book for the companion deck, I was very keen to continue these themes, to make sure that we got across this idea of illumination and revelation, because this is the path that tarot readers, I hope, are treading, and that clients who come to tarot readers for readings are treading. They're seeking illumination. All across the world, across vast geographical distances, throughout the ages, people have spoken about understanding, progression, spiritual advancement in terms of light. They speak about, for instance, enlightenment, or about reflection, which is in itself a way of light reflecting on a surface. And so it doesn't seem at all strange for me to have the voice of this tarot deck being so focused on these principles of light and reflection and refraction, and all the very many sources of light. So when we think of the voice of the Tarot Illuminati, I'd rather not think of my voice coming through the cards or my voice coming through the writing in the companion book. I'd rather think of the voice of billions of people who have existed all across time, all across geographical distances, all expressing their spiritual journey, the spiritual journey that every human shares, in terms of light. And the Tarot Illuminati, its voice is just one of many, many voices that has existed over the centuries that adds to this. Of course, the question why the voice of the Tarot Illuminati has more practical aspects, and it's asking, how did you get involved? And this is a very good question. When the Tarot Illuminati was in its initial stages of creation, I didn't know who Eric Dunn was. I didn't even know the Tarot Illuminati existed. I didn't know the Tarot Illuminati existed until Eric posted a link to some of his cards on the Tarot Professionals Facebook group, when he called out for an author to go with his artwork. He was looking then for the voice of the Tarot Illuminati. And the image that he posted was the Queen of Swords. I'm British, and any images of Queen Elizabeth always called to me, and here she was in stunning resplendent colours, beautiful costumes, surrounded by the wonderful symbols of the Queen of Swords herself, the parrot, the butterfly, the birds, the sword of logic and reason. And I fell in love with the deck. And so, despite the fact that I could see it was going to be a challenge, I contacted Eric, thereby disobeying my mother's advice from when I was a child, don't talk to strangers, saying I'd like to be the author for your companion book. Told him a little bit about myself and shared my ideas of tarot and how I think it's best approached. And when he messaged back, it was very clear from the first message that we were going to get along like a house on fire. We shared very similar ideas about tarot and the world. We'd shared quite similar experiences. And that very night, after we had our first conversation, I wrote down copious notes of how I would like to approach the companion book and how I'd like to express the voice of Eric's artwork. I sent him them by email, and he absolutely loved them. In particular, the idea of the first-person speeches, which I think is one of the unique features of this companion book for the deck. And it's certainly a feature which helps express in a more approachable yet beautiful manner the meanings of the cards without going over the same ground. And that's really part of what I wanted my voice to put into the voice of the Tarot Illuminati, was the idea of having tradition, working from a firm basis which has been built up over 1,000 years or so, but also inputting something new, expressing it in a unique fashion, expressing it in an accessible fashion, not bogged down by tradition, but informed by it. And in a lot of the feedback we've had about the deck, this has been a running theme. The tarot not reinvented, but represented, dressed up in different clothes, offered in a different arrangement. And when you do that, new things come to people's minds. Even readers that have been working with the tarot for 30, 40 years have said that this deck speaks with a voice that allows them to reconnect with some of the things they'd forgotten about tarot, allows them to access it as if they were beginners, picking up entirely new things. And this, to me, is what the tarot voice is, and certainly what the voice of the Tarot Illuminati is. And my voice is just one very small voice in that.
She is she's a goddess. She's absolutely brilliant.
Yeah.
Absolutely brilliant. I feel like an absolute novice in her presence. She gets pissed at me when I say that. She's like, "Are you kidding me? You're the artist. You created this."
And she's one of the contributors to this video that we're doing, and so
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. We're honored to have
honored. Oh, humble.
quite a
Thank
few.
you. Thank you.
Quite a few. You know, Bill, there are a lot of people who I owe an incredible amount of gratitude to. This is not something one pulls off on their own. No one pulls that off on their own. It takes a village.
Mm-hmm.
It takes a village, and I have been very, very blessed. I've been very blessed with a village of incredibly talented, knowledgeable, inspired people who have all contributed something to bring this entire magical experience for me into fruition. Pamela Steele, Steel Wizard Tarot, encouraged me to release this, to share this with the world. Thank God for her. Introduced me to social media, which took it global before it was ever even released. Thank God for her. Kim Huggins, the voice of the Tarot Illuminati, who lent me her knowledge and wisdom and brilliant talent to provide a voice for this deck. Marcus Katz, who started promoting it before it was ever even complete through his Tarosophist International magazine, and on his Tarot Professionals page, and his partner Tally Goodwin. Lo Scarabio, my publisher, for respecting me as an artist enough to not only share my vision, but produce my vision, to take my vision and manifest it in this way. Brilliant. My publisher's absolutely brilliant. And Bill Trivet, Bob Hall, New Visions Bookstore. My God, this never would have happened if you hadn't turned me on to Tarot 26 years ago, and if you hadn't been my biggest supporters and the truly the home of the Tarot Illuminati. I am humbled. I'm humbled at what a small part I've actually played in this entire thing, because without any of the contributors or members of that village that I just mentioned, none of this would have happened quite the way it did.
Angelo Dacios with his
Angelo, yeah.
Angel, I call him.
Yeah, Angelo with his my God, his amazing reviews and observations about the deck really early on.
Right.
Donna later. Rosa.
That crazy woman. I love her with all my heart.
She's a sprite.
I love her.
She's not just brilliant, but honest and sincere and genuine.
Did you make her jewelry yet?
No. No. I'm gonna take a deck in.
She wants jewelry made from Terra Illuminati.
Yeah, well, I'm gonna take a deck in. I'm gonna have big holes cut in it and a big gold hoop put through it and put it on a bling chain, and I'm gonna send it to her. Say, wear this if you can handle the weight.
And Chris Butler.
Brilliant artist. Very kind man. Yeah, inspiring I find him quite inspiring. There's this. It takes a village, and I have been very, very blessed. I've been very blessed to have found a village that I'm never moving out of.
So there's a dedication card in your deck, and dedicated to someone who was very special to you. And I'd like you to speak on that, if you wouldn't mind.
The entire deck is dedicated to Anthony David Stevens, Tony Stevens, one of my oldest and dearest friends, actually quite more like a brother to me than a friend. One of the most beautiful souls I've ever had the pleasure of encountering in my life, and just so blessed that I had 26 years, no, 27 years of his unconditional friendship. Anyway, Tony was a tarot enthusiast as well. You knew Tony well.
Sure.
And a brilliant artist as well. Different style than me, but brilliant artist, incredible human being, and quite knowledgeable in tarot, and very enthusiastic about it. When this whole project started, Tony and I were going to collaborate on this deck together. We were going to create not Eric's deck, but our deck. He had experienced kind of the same thing that I had experienced, in that all of these decks that he'd been through and acquired throughout the years, he'd never quite found that one. So he and I, being on the same wavelength 24/7 all of these years, that we're going to collaborate on this deck. I was going to set the tone with the Queen of Swords. And she was indeed going to set the tone for the direction the artwork was going to take throughout the deck. But Tony and I were going to be contributing equally in terms of artwork to the deck and creating our deck. Not my deck, but our deck. Shortly after I finished the Queen of Swords, Tony had a massive coronary and passed away that night. Quite young.
Mm-hmm. He's only 39.
Yeah, 39 years old. And well, you can imagine my devastation.
I did, you called me.
Yeah, I did. I called you. You were on the train.
I was on the train.
To New York. I was devastated, beyond consoling. Devastated doesn't even begin to describe where I was at, and oh my God. But so the entire deck, the entire project, was scrap. I couldn't imagine moving on with it, completing it, pursuing it, now that Tony was gone. And then after getting through funeral arrangements and seeing after his widow and my godkids, and all of the awful mechanical things that one has to do when you lose someone, I started to think about this more intensely, and I thought about what an incredible disservice I would be doing to Tony's memory if I took this project we were both so very passionate about and just threw it to the wind.
Tell us about the Five of Cups.
Okay. Five of Cups in the Tarot deck is. I had decided that scrapping the project was not an option. That now I needed to finish the project out of respect for Tony's memory, and I wanted to complete something that we had started together. But I was still in this incredible state of grief, this devastating state of grief. But I was determined to move forward with the deck. And I found that the first card I went to work on after this whole experience was the Five of Cups. And I think if one really looks at the Five of Cups, they can probably see everything that I've just conveyed. That is indeed me in the Five of Cups. And so that was the card that I went to work on right after Tony's passing, with the idea that I was going to complete this deck. And I found that this deck was actually a really great way for me to focus and channel my grief and work through my grief. This could be a really therapeutic and consoling practice, was to finish this deck. And that is indeed what I found, is that as I used it to work through the grieving process through the Five of Cups, I found that I could also use all of my wonderful memories and experiences to incorporate into other cards. And so this deck is imbued with this intense love of and remembrance of this incredible friendship that I shared with Tony. And so you'll find on the reverse of the title card and in the first pages of the companion book that it's been dedicated to his memory, and rightfully so.
Right. So when you completed the deck, we at New Vision have a great relationship with Llewellyn, who are the distributors for Los Garabio's decks here in the United States.
Right. North America, all of North America.
Right. So we knew your deck was coming out soon, so Robert, who is our emperor here, no, he's our hierophant, that's what he is, called Llewellyn and talked to our sales rep about when can we get these decks in. Well, she said that she had one squirreled away, and she would send it to us. And so she did. And so it was not available in North America at that particular time, so we got one of the very few first decks in North America.
No, the first deck.
The first deck.
The first deck, not one of the.
The first deck.
Yeah.
And so when the deck arrived, of course I was in glee, and then I prepared the deck for reading, and then I did a reading on May 17, 2013 on the success of Tarot Illuminati, which was a brilliant reading. And if you want to see that particular reading, you can go to your Facebook page, which has it, and you can scroll down and eventually find it. And I have a little interpretation. You can also go to the New Vision's website, which it lives there too, as well as we have a Tarot Illuminati page in our website. And so I did that, and I was very happy with the reading. And so I called Eric that day and said, why don't you come over to my house for cocktails tonight, for no particular reason? And so he did. And so from behind my back, after bringing out a couple cocktails, I produced your deck to you. And tell me your response to that.
Oh. My God. I wept. I wept with joy and disbelief. You know, my publisher's in Italy. Los Garabia's in Italy. So all of this back and forth and back and forth and back and forth while the deck is in production and all of that has all been via electronic communication.
Right.
So for you to actually hand me the tangible, you know, for me to hold this in my hands for the very first time was, oh my God, an emotional roller coaster. And
Yes, I do remember.
an emotional roller coaster. And I can't think of a more appropriate way for me to be presented with my own work for the very first time than by the person who introduced me to the entire tarot for the very first time 26 years ago, all those years ago. So yeah, oh my God, I'll never forget that day.
You have to laugh at the kismet of it.
Yeah, exactly. It's just
It's
so
my
beautiful.
honor.
It's just so beautiful the way the universe.
This whole thing has been so choreographed. It's just excellent. It's
Yeah.
exquisite.
Yeah, beyond my control. Entirely beyond my control.
So, that said, where do you want to go with your deck from here?
With the Terra Illuminati,
Yeah.
you know, I was hoping when the Terra Illuminati was born that she would be born with legs and able to walk. And silly me, she was born running, and then the moment I turned my back, she had grown wings and began flying, and left me in her dust. You know, there isn't a lot. You know, where do I want to see Tarot Illuminati go? There really isn't. I don't know quite how to answer that, because it's already gone so much further than I ever dreamt or could have anticipated going. It's touched lives all over the planet.
I know.
The planet.
I know.
I'm getting emails from Portugal and Australia and Germany and the Netherlands and Puerto Rico and Brazil and my God, my Android. It's being produced in an Android version for those who are more electronically inclined than myself. And the Android developers are it's slipping me. I just told you this evening.
Oh, what is it? Cambodia?
Cambodia. They're in Cambodia, for God's sake. It's Tarot Illuminati has left me in her dust and already been flying around the globe. So I really, aside from what I just mentioned, we're developing an Android app which will be out before Christmas, probably before this video, actually. The Android app will already be out there on the market, and that's very exciting, because that takes it into a whole new electronic Galaxy Tone. Shauna Hill is creating it in that format.
Apparently
and
one of our villagers.
I just saw another villager. I just saw it for the first time yesterday, and it's absolutely brilliant. It's stunning. So there's nowhere do I want to see Tarot Illuminati go. She's off on her own. She's left me.
An oncoming train.
Yeah, you know, I thought that as I was finishing up that last card, I saw this light. I was seeing this light at the end of the tunnel, and little did I know that light at the end of the tunnel was actually an oncoming train. And I had two choices: jump the hell out of its way, or as it was speeding by, jump on and let it sweep me to places unknown. And that's pretty much what's happened. But that being said, I have other irons in the fire.
So what advice do you have for inspired artists of decks? How would you advise them?
First and foremost, I would say, and I do desperately want to pay it forward. You know, I had my village. I would like to be part of someone else's village as well. I want to pay it forward. To new artists, up and coming artists, who want to contribute something to the tarot community, the first thing I would say is listen to spirit, trust your gut, trust your instinct. They never lie. They never lie. Secondly, I would say, if you're going to listen to anybody, listen to spirit and listen to your gut, because you are going to be, if you allow your work to get out there into the social media, you're going to experience the same thing I experienced. There's a select few individuals out there who are going to attempt to quash your dreams and your hopes and your vision, and for no other reason other than the fact that they have none of their own. Do not allow them to do that. Turn them off, throw them to the side, and continue with your vision, continue with your artwork. Listen to no one. Just trust your gut and produce, because eventually you will produce and contribute something to the tarot community in the 21st century that will be remarkable. Don't let any of the naysayers, and they're a select few, they're really not the majority. You will find that, particularly if you engage in social media, as I've learned to do, you will find that for every naysayer there are 10,000 supporters who are enthused and inspired by what you're doing. So produce it, finish it, complete it, contribute it to the community, and show those select few non-contributors that they can eat crow.
I could comment more, but I shall not. There must be this feeling of a real accomplishment to have created this deck and watch it go global at the way that it has. So how do you feel about that?
I'm humbled, more than, first and foremost, I'm humbled daily. I'm humbled by the reception that my work has received worldwide. There is a feeling of accomplishment, but that feeling of accomplishment goes back to a conversation we were having a little bit earlier, and that's having completed something that a dear friend of mine and I had started. The feeling of accomplishment is having completed that in his memory. That's where the feeling of accomplishment comes in. But other than that, it's not so much a feeling of accomplishment as it is a feeling of being humbled on a daily basis. Every time I see a new review or blog or receive a personal comment.
Yes, if you type in Terra Illuminati, it's a mile long.
It's pretty crazy, I know. It's pretty crazy. And yet I'm still accessible to personal emails from individuals who've had personal experiences with the deck, and every time I read one of those, my God, it's humbling. It's humbling and it's inspiring. Yeah, it's been a life-changing life-changing experience
So,
for me.
with that said, how has Tarot Illuminati changed your life?
I never in a million years would have been blessed with meeting some of the spectacular people. You know, I said earlier on, I said it takes a village. It does indeed, and I have been incredibly honored and blessed with being introduced to and inspired by and honored and humbled by meeting some of the most magnificent souls on the face of the planet. That's the biggest way it's changed me. Is it's introduced me to this circle of really magnificent people, and it's changed me in that I have a sense of confidence, I think.
You just drew that right out of my head.
Yeah. I have a sense of confidence that I didn't have before. There's this, you know, to be bombarded from all sides with this love and appreciation and thankfulness from people I don't know from Adam has really done wonders for me as
who you are.
as an individual.
And what you've contributed. You know, your deck, in my opinion, is destined to be a classic tarot, and will take its place in tarot history. And so I appreciate that, to be part of it.
Well, that would be quite something, wouldn't it?
So, that said, where does one get all of these products, by the way?
Well,
where did they get your kit? Where did they get the standard deck? Where did they get the handbook? Where did they get the bag?
well, first and foremost, I am a extreme proponent of supporting your local brick and mortar. And when I say your local brick and mortar, I'm not talking about your huge corporate bookstores. I'm talking about your local, new age, metaphysical, neighborhood brick and mortar store.
Let me tell this story.
Okay.
I have to tell it.
Okay.
So we went to our neighboring town, and we always like to go into the Barnes and Noble. And,
no, this story.
Yes. Go into the neighboring Barnes and Noble, and we were looking. We go to tarot decks and New Age section, see what new books are out there and so forth. So, so we made our way to the tarot section immediately, and so Robert said, "I can't find this deck anywhere." So, and I said, "Oh." So I was down on my hands and knees on the bottom shelf corner, and there it was. So they only have one copy. So I pulled that deck out in my hot little hand, cleared out the top shelf of any number of products were there, and set it front and center.
That's what we call strategic marketing. How many Barnes and Noble have you been to?
I would go to all of them.
Yeah. So, well, yeah. Funny. And I can see you doing it.
I did.
I can totally see you doing it, crawling around on your hands and knees, elevating Illuminati to the top shelf.
I did.
But, yeah, no, by all means, if you have a local brick and mortar, like New Age metaphysical type bookstore, always go there first. You know, this whole age of the internet and having anything and everything available to you on the internet and being able to have it shipped so you don't even have to leave the house, you don't even have to get out of your underwear, you can just wait for it to arrive on your porch. It's brilliant, it's wonderful. But, you know, the guys who started the whole ball rolling are these local brick and mortars, so support them first. I will mention that New Visions bookstore, will never be out of Tarot Illuminati, and it's
Never.
it's the only venue. It's the only venue in the world to get where I'm signing decks, and that's my way of giving back to everything that New Visions has given to me over the past 26
Oh, we've
years.
sold hundreds and hundreds of
But
Thank you.
that being said, if you don't, not everybody has, not
Right,
everybody
very
has.
true.
Not everyone's fortunate enough to have a local brick and mortar. That being said, then you've got your Barnes and Nobles, but Amazon, Los Garabio's website, Llewellyn's website,
Right.
fishpond.com. Google it.
Right.
Google it.
Right.
If you want to find it, it's there for the taking.
Right, and if you want to see the images, they are posted on your Facebook page?
On my Facebook page, right.
And they're posted on a page on New Vision's website, newvisionsbooks.com. So,
Right.
My final question is, what can we expect from you in the future?
Lots. I'm currently collaborating on a sister deck to the Terra Illuminati, and I'm going to give you the name, because unlike Terra Illuminati, which started with no name,
And a bolt in the dark.
right, an epiphany in the darkness. I'm actually starting with a name this time, and you can look forward to Apocalypsis. And Kim and I are collaborating on that as we speak. I have quite a few images in the works. The concept is all there. It's going to be a bit of a brain teaser, more than Illuminati. Of course, Tarot Illuminati is a really good example of the type of artwork that I do. Lots of fabrics, lots of textures.
Yes, I know, because when you asked me for a name and I said Tarot Fabrique.
Yeah. So there's going to be elaborate costumery and fabrics and textures and vibrant colors. I mean, that's who I am as a person. So you're going to see that in this next deck. But Kim and I are also working on finding some very unique and original ways to convey the same message, same concepts, same themes as these cards, but in new, fresh, and invigorating ways. So it might be a bit more of a brain teaser than the Illuminati was, in that one might have to do a little bit of research into the hidden symbolism in these new cards, as opposed to how blatantly they're laid out in front of you in the Illuminati. So that's next. Tarot Apocalypsis is next. There is an Android app being released prior to Christmas 2013 for the Terra Illuminati by Galaxy Tone. So that will probably be out there in the market before this video even airs. And without going too far into the future, my vision, my goal, if you will, is to complete a trilogy of decks. I
wonder what that would be.
I'd like to see it all wrap around
Right.
and create a trilogy, and then die. Then I'm done. I will have done what I came here to do.
Eric done.
Yeah,
Finally.
I'm done. Finished. I will have done what I came here to do, and I just want to keep. Giving back and contributing and paying it forward. And if all of this is going on for me, I can inspire or assist up and coming tarot artists or enthusiasts or anybody who has something to contribute. I want to be that guy. I raise my flag and say, hey, I'm here to help.
Well, that said, I have loved tarot. It's been my first love for 31 years. And to be part of this is humbling for me. And I thank you from the bottom of my heart for being here tonight in the beautiful environment of New Visions, Books and Gifts to have this conversation. And I hope that this video inspires individuals to this video was never about Tarot Illuminati as go out and buy it. It was about the process of a miracle that became from one young man's dream that became realized. So thank you for viewing. Cheers.